Today in our caucus, we're going to continue to have a conversation. Of course, it's still in the committee, and there's a lot of people testifying. So we will have another discussion Tuesday about it, and we'll see where we go with it. But I think we have a lot of people in the caucus interested to see something happening with this. And of course, this is really, as far as the bill goes, really narrowed down in scope to focus solely on this issue on marriage at these churches. And of course, the state constitution already provides for a lot of protections, and I think what we'll be doing is passing a bill that just reaffirms that in many cases.
Last year when this came up, you mentioned there are concerns on the other side about protections for LGBT people from anti-discrimination. Is that, you said at one point that you hope that maybe both could be part of the discussion. I mean,
I still think there's plenty of room for people to still have that discussion on both sides and keep pushing. And I think this is already something that we already clearly define and protect within our own state constitution. We're just reaffirming that, and by the way, it's also in the United States Constitution, through the First Amendment, so we're just reaffirming that through this bill.
But on the other side, the LGBT, anti-discrimination for housing and employment, that's not part of Ohio law.
And we'll continue to have those conversations regarding that, and I still think that there is pathway forward, and I'll continue to be all ears to see what we can do to help in that endeavor.
It doesn't sound like you think this is, and you seem to indicate this last year, it sounds like you don't think this is really a necessary thing to pass in order to keep the protections we already have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why this bill is in its scope, just reaffirming what is currently out there in protections, and those protections already exist, and we have a lot of members that want to see that potentially reaffirmed, and I'm listening to those members, and this is what this bill would produce.
So what's the justification for wanting to reaffirm protections we already have? You've heard.
Well, I think that justification happens both ways in many circumstances. So a lot of times people have needs and wants to which they want to continue to just make sure that those are still held steady, and I think that's what you see with some members in this bill, is they want to see that happen again. And we're having, like I said, continued conversations with our caucus about it. We'll have another one Tuesday night, and we'll see ultimately where the caucus wants to overall go with this bill.
Have you laid out a framework for what you want to see the House tax plan look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, we're going to try to work as much as possible with the president and governor to get us in the right track here for our state, but at the same time, I want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to ensure we have a very balanced budget, and we don't set policies forth that could put us in a bad predicament in the future financially as a state. So those are things that we're taking into account right now, and we're looking at committee process still really early, still talking about a lot of the governor's provisions, and we're going to continue to work with administration to see what we can do and where we can go. The other thing is too, some of this is dependent on watching the federal government and what happens at the federal level and what they do and how that affects ultimately what we do as a state. I think long term for a tax policy here that we want to be also cautious about. So we will see it, and we'll be rolling out next week our Buckeye Pathway agenda and talking a little bit about that at some point. I don't know if that's already announced or not, but if not, there you go. I just announced it for you.
Fair to assume the House doesn't have any problem taking the state of the state to Sandusky?
Well, we haven't had a problem since we went to Steubenville, so I don't think so. I think you always are going to have folks that traditionally would like to see it still here at the House. It is by nature the General Assembly that the governor's required to come and give us a conversation, but I think for many, especially like Representative Arndt, it has a huge impact for the region. It shows us going out and being a part of the state, and I don't necessarily think that there will be overall a big problem with it.
Will right to work move forward?
Well, I think that there is there's a lot of pressure amongst other states that are around us. Of course, Missouri just recently moved right to work, and I think that there's a lot of folks that have a belief that that's still a policy that is important to our state, but then also, there's a lot of us still remember Senate Bill 5 and what happened here and what went down, and so, I think we're always going to have members that want to introduce bills and do things. That's in their prerogative to do. They have to have first hearings. They'll get their first hearings, and we'll have conversations as a caucus. But I don't know that we have a game plan going forward with there. I think that there's a lot of businesses and groups talking about it, and I think that ultimately for the state, a right to work pathway is one to which is probably taken to the ballot through that citizen-led initiative, probably, if that happens.
With premiums and Medicaid, are you expecting support for the governor's plan, or maybe taking a second crack at the Healthy Ohio or anything like that?
Yeah, I think Healthy Ohio, is it Healthier Buckeye or Healthier Ohio? I think it's Healthier Buckeye.
Healthy Ohio, I think.
Or Healthy Ohio. There's a couple of them. I can't get them all. But I think that we're going to watch it. Look, the reality is that we're going to probably come back. We're going to pass this budget. We're going to get past it in time. Is my goal, and that we're going to probably have to come back and make some changes and be a little flexible and nimble as time goes on, because things are going to ultimately change. We're going to look at that and watch it. I think you're going to see us. There's some avenues to which I think we can get waivers for that we couldn't potentially get waivers for in the past, that we'll probably try to do to maybe help mitigate some of those costs and those premiums. So we'll see what we do as we continue to have some of these conversations. Those conversations are ongoing now, so we'll keep talking about it.
What is your goal to get the budget done on your side?
I knew I should have studied up. I think we want to get that. So we got with the Easter holidays, that kind of compresses us a little bit. We hope to get it somewhere a little before, if not after, the Easter holiday, so we can get it to the Senate and give them plenty of time to look at the budget as well, of course. Anything else?